Today I'm going to be talking about tempo and helping to understand how to use it best in the workout. Obviously, I program everything, but it's good to understand it so that you can really apply the tempo to an exercise. And every exercise has its own specific tempo, the best way you should be doing that exercise. When you have a program or a workout, you get sets, you get an exercise, then you get the sets, then you have the reps of each set, and then inside of the repetition, you have the tempo, the speed that you should be moving on each repetition. So let me just break down what tempo stands for. There are 4 numbers. The first number, you'll see it says E, then the next one is P, then the next one is C, then the next one is P. So this is eccentric, this is pause, this is concentric, and this is pause. If I break it down even more, the lengthening of the muscle when you're doing an exercise is the E. So that means, like, if you're doing a bent over row, when you lower the weight, that's the E. When you're doing a squat, when you squat down, that's the E, the eccentric. When you're lunging, it's the downward movement. Okay. When you're doing a shoulder press, it's a downward movement. That's the E. The P stands for what you're going to do when you reach the changeover point. So when you're coming down in a shoulder press, once you get to this point, should you pause or not pause? And if you pause, for how long? And then you push back up, right? So that second point is the P. It's the changeover point. Then the C, the contraction, the shortening of the muscle, is when you push back up or when you stand back up from a squat. And then the top is the start-finish position, which is, again, the P represents that point for whether you're going to pause or not pause. Now, for me, I never really want to pause where all the joints are locked out. So you probably will never see an exercise where the muscles are relaxed at the top. The only time that we use a pause at the top of the movement is something like a glute bridge, maybe a bicep curl, or where the muscle's in its contracted state. Then we're going to pause, and then that pausing position is going to increase the emphasis of that exercise. It's going to activate those muscles even better, especially with the glute bridge. So I'm going to use some examples and show you how I use them differently. And I really just want to emphasize the fact that this stuff is quite important, because the goal of a workout is to fatigue a muscle. So if you've got a set of reps and you're not actually doing those reps at the right speed, you could be doing a workout and not really getting the benefit of the workout, or only getting small benefits where you could be getting major benefits. So it's very important to follow the tempo. So in this next couple of videos, I'm just going to show you Caroline doing a walking lunge, and she's going to be pausing at the top, which is the P, the last P, which most people do, but I don't actually teach that. What I want you to do is to continuously lunge so that you have more time under tension. So you'll see that part, but then I'll demonstrate some exercises. She'll demonstrate some exercises where she's actually doing it exactly the way I want it to be done. Some of you have a program like this, maybe slightly different, but there are reasons why we would have specific tempos. Now, just one thing to remember. Each repetition should usually last about 3 to 4 seconds. So one repetition usually lasts about 3 to 4 seconds for you to have proper control of the weight. And that's why often you'll see that there's like 3, 0, 1, 0, that's 4 seconds. Or you'll be like 2, 0, 2, 0, which is 4 seconds. Or I'll have something like 1, 0, 1, 2. So you see that? 1 second down, no rest at the bottom, and then 1 second up, and then at the top, 2. That's a 2-second pause. And I'm going to give you specific examples of that now as I share the next videos. As you can see, there's a step, muscles are engaged, and then coming out of the step into an upright position, there's a pause. And that pause means the muscles completely relax and there is no more work being done. Total waste of time. This is a much better way to do the exercise. It means the muscles are under constant tension, and it's a much easier way to achieve muscle fatigue. So as you can see, there's those 2 examples. One, Caroline is at the top resting and the other no resting at any point in the rep. So obviously one is going to produce a greater benefit for her. One is going to produce a greater muscle fatigue than the other. And that's obviously the one where she's not taking the breaks in between reps. And that's really, really important if you want to get some good results. You don't want to be spending hours in the gym. So you want to shorten the amount of time that you train and make sure that every repetition gets the muscles working the best that they can. In the next videos, I'm going to show you examples of Caroline doing exercises with the tempo that I've chosen for that specific exercise, because the muscles need that sort of tempo in order for them to get the most, or for you to get the greatest benefit from them. So take a look at these. This first exercise Caroline is doing is a fold at the hip, which is the stiff leg deadlift. The focus is to stretch and lengthen the hamstrings, but also to contract the glutes. So we're going to use a 2-2 tempo so that we can stay in control going down and stay in control coming back up to get into a good contraction through the glutes just before we start again. The next tempo is on a bent over row, and this is a 3-0-1-0 tempo. So there's no pause at the bottom, no pause at the top, but as you can see, Caroline is lowering the weight really slowly. So this is eccentric loading. You want to load the muscle from its contracted position at the top down to its stretched position at the bottom. A contraction exercise like the glute bridge means that we can spend some time in that contracted state, because ultimately the muscle works less when you go out of the contraction. So a 1 down, no rest at the bottom, 1 up, and 2 seconds pause at the top, 1-0-1-2 at the top. That is the best way to do a contraction exercise and the glute bridge like this. And finally, exercises like this one, where the muscle is kind of working in a mid-range point. It's not fully contracted and it's not fully lengthened. This is a good time to do a 2-0-2-0 tempo. So this is constant moving with no pausing. That's probably the best way to do exercises like this. So as you can see, there's different tempo for different exercises, because each exercise has a different effect on the muscle. Some of the exercises work more in the stretched position, some work more in the contracted position. So that's why the tempo is so important. Now, reading the tempo, that's how you read it, that's how you apply it. Now, the reason for it is we want to make sure that the muscles are doing the work and not the joints. If you're going speedy through an exercise, bouncing up and down, using momentum, you run the risk of making your joints work hard and your muscles don't work so hard, because of the more speed there is, you're just generating a bit of power to create a force that moves something, but during that period of time while it's moving, there isn't much work being done on the muscle. Same thing as when you're lowering a weight really fast, dropping it down. That dropping action, it's like there isn't anything working. So a lot less muscle is working. So we want to move the weight really slowly and in good control, so the muscles are doing the work and not the joints. You want to maximize the time you spend in the gym. Don't waste time doing things that don't give you the benefit that they should. If you need to further help understanding the tempo, leave me a comment or send me a message. But ultimately, the way that I program, or if you're watching a video that you're seeing me move in, that's the speed you should be moving, or that's the tempo that you should be following when an exercise has been programmed for you.